Have you ever felt completely exhausted, even when you haven't been physically carrying anything heavy? Maybe it's the middle of the night and you're lying there wide awake, not because of insomnia, but because your heart just isn't at peace. Not because someone is hurting you, but because of the thoughts you haven't released, the memories that still sting, the fears you quietly carry inside. We're not just tired because of work or responsibilities. We're tired because of the invisible weight constantly trying to please others, worrying about things that haven't even happened yet, or the deep-seated feeling that we're never quite good enough. The Buddha once said, "It's not the outside world that causes our suffering, but the clinging inside." And maybe what we truly need is not to push harder, but to begin letting go. In today's video, we'll explore 10 things that, if gently released, can help you feel lighter, more peaceful, and more deeply connected to your true self. 1. Letting go of the feeling that you're not enough. There's a quiet pain many of us carry. It doesn't shout. It doesn't take a clear form, but it seeps into our thoughts, our decisions, our relationships. It's the feeling that we're not enough, not good enough, not smart enough, not attractive enough, not successful enough, not worthy enough to be loved. Have you ever caught yourself looking at someone else and silently thinking, "I wish I were as talented as they are. I wish I had their life"? You're not alone. Many people silently compare themselves and silently suffer. They wear a bright mask on the outside, but inside there's a quiet voice whispering, "You're still not enough. Not yet." And that voice pushes us to keep striving, not to grow, but to be accepted. We push ourselves to prove that we're worthy. We smile to keep others happy, even when our heart is breaking. We hold ourselves together just to appear fine, even when we feel completely lost inside. But the Buddha taught, you deserve love just as much as anyone else in the universe. Not when you become more perfect, not when you achieve more, not when you fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. But right now, in this moment, as you breathe, as you live, as you simply are, you are already worthy. We grow up in a world that constantly emphasizes achievement standards and image. We're taught to measure our worth through the eyes of others. We're told we need to become something in order to be loved, to be valuable. But Buddhist wisdom reminds us of a deeper truth. Your worth doesn't come from who you are in the world's eyes. It comes from the simple fact that you are a human being, still learning, still healing, still waking up. You don't need to become someone else to be loved. You don't need to force yourself into a mold to be accepted. You don't need to prove anything at all. Real love doesn't come from how well you perform. It comes from how courageously you return to yourself honestly and unconditionally. So, if you've ever heard that voice in your head telling you you're not enough, pause for a moment. Place your hand over your heart and gently remind yourself, I am enough. Not enough to earn praise. Not enough to keep someone from leaving. But enough to live with compassion, with self-acceptance, and with quiet dignity. Only when you let go of the belief that you are not enough can you begin the real healing journey. Because you'll stop chasing validation from the outside and start listening to the quiet wisdom within. You'll stop trying to become someone else and start living more truthfully as who you are. You'll stop living in fear of being abandoned and start walking with kindness and steadiness in your own path. So, dear soul, if today you feel tired from trying too hard to be someone, let yourself rest just for a moment, not to give up, but to remember this: you don't have to become anyone else to be loved. You already are, from the very moment you showed up in this world. 2. Letting go of old grudges and unhealed wounds. Some wounds don't bleed, but they hurt for a very long time. Some anger is never spoken out loud, yet it quietly burns inside us day after day, night after night. And over time, it becomes part of our personality, part of our gaze, part of the way we treat others, and sometimes even worse, part of how we treat ourselves. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I get so easily irritated with the people I love? Why is it so hard to trust someone fully? Why does love come and then quietly slip away? It's very possible you're still carrying old wounds that were never truly healed. You're still holding on to anger that was never released. Most of us don't even realize we're carrying it, because many wounds are buried deep, hidden behind smiles, covered up by daily distractions. We think we've forgotten, but really, it's still there. Sometimes it comes back in a sentence, a glance, a sudden reaction, like a scar you can't see but still aches every time the weather shifts. The Buddha taught, holding on to anger is like picking up a burning coal to throw at someone else, but you're the one who gets burned first. When you don't forgive, you think you're punishing the other person, but in reality, you're locking yourself inside a painful memory. You relive that story every single day, not because it's still happening, but because you're still holding on to it. And eventually, you get tired, irritable, defensive, afraid to open up, afraid to believe in kindness, sincerity, or love again. Maybe you've told yourself, forgiveness is about letting them off the hook. But no, forgiveness is about setting yourself free. It's about giving your heart a break. It's about choosing not to live in yesterday, when today is inviting you to move forward. Forgiveness is not denying what happened. It's not minimizing your pain. It's not pretending to forget. Forgiveness simply means choosing not to let that experience control your emotions anymore. It means refusing to let the shadows of yesterday block the light of today. You have the right to feel pain. You have the right to be angry. You have the right to cry. But eventually, you also have the right to let go and to live. Letting go is not weakness. Letting go is awakening. It is realizing no one, no matter who they are or what they did, deserves to have permanent power over your peace. If today you're still carrying a wound, still holding on to a grudge, still haunted by a memory that won't leave, then please remember this: forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It opens the door to a lighter future. You deserve peace. You deserve a heart no longer chained to what has already happened. And you don't need to wait for the other person to change. You only need to decide to forgive for you. 3. Letting go of the fear of the unknown. There's a kind of fear that feels so familiar yet so rarely spoken aloud. It's not exactly the fear of failure. It's not quite the fear of loss. It's the fear of what we don't know, the things that haven't happened yet, that we can't see, can't predict, or control. We fear not knowing what tomorrow will bring. We fear what might be waiting just around the corner. We fear how unpredictable this life is, with all its twists and turns, never knowing which path is truly safe. The unknown unsettles us, because the human mind craves certainty. We plan, we set goals, we map out every step as if we could keep life neatly within the palms of our hands. But then, life happens, and it has its own way of turning everything upside down. Have you ever experienced that? You carefully prepared for a new job, and then the role changed overnight? You gave your heart to a relationship, and they suddenly chose a different path. You made a plan for your future, and then something unexpected shattered it all. In those moments, panic sets in, because suddenly things are no longer in your control. And beneath the surface, there's fear. Not fear of what's already happened, but fear of what might happen next. But the Buddha taught this simple truth. Impermanence is the nature of life. Nothing stays the same. Nothing is guaranteed. Everything your body, your emotions, your relationships, even the things you once believed were forever, is always changing. And here's the paradox. When you stop resisting that change, you begin to move with the flow of Dharma. You step into a space where you don't have to control everything. You simply learn to walk with it, with mindfulness and presence. Letting go of the fear of the unknown doesn't mean becoming passive. It doesn't mean you stop planning. It doesn't mean you give up on the future. It means you release the grip on outcomes. You release the need for certainty, and you begin to live with a quiet trust in karma, in interdependence, in the natural unfolding of Dharma itself. You may not know what next week holds, but you know how to breathe deeply today. You may not be able to predict how life will shift, but you can stay rooted in the here and now. It's like being a small boat on a flowing river. The more you fight the current, the more exhausted you become. But if you move with it, keeping your hands steady on the wheel, eyes calmly on the water, you'll go farther, and you'll get there in one piece. That's what life is like. It's not meant to be controlled. It's meant to be walked with one step at a time. So, if today you're feeling uneasy about something unknown, if your heart feels restless because the future feels uncertain, just pause. Sit down for a moment, breathe slowly, and gently remind yourself, it's okay. Life is impermanent, and I'm learning to walk, not in certainty, but in presence. 4. Letting go of the need to please. Everyone. Have you ever forced yourself to smile when you were completely drained inside? Just because you didn't want to disappoint anyone, said yes to something, even when you were already overwhelmed. Just because you were afraid of being judged, stayed quiet, endured, sacrificed, just to maintain the image of a kind person who never lets anyone down. If you've ever felt this way, then you know what it's like to live under the weight of trying to please everyone. It may sound noble on the surface, but in truth, it's like a silent cage, one that traps so many people in quiet suffering. We're afraid of being disliked, afraid of letting someone down, afraid of being misunderstood, afraid of losing love approval or our role in someone else's life. So, we shrink ourselves, we bend, twist, and change, just to fit into the expectations others have placed on us. And over time, we lose our voice. Worse yet, we lose our ability to even recognize what's real inside of us, and what's simply a performance. But the Buddha never taught that compassion means living to please others. He taught that true compassion must walk hand in hand with wisdom. Compassion is the ability to love. Wisdom is knowing where the boundaries are. Compassion doesn't mean always saying yes. It doesn't mean tolerating everything without question. It doesn't mean sacrificing yourself until there's nothing left. In Buddhism, true compassion begins with not abandoning yourself. It's knowing when to step forward and when to step back. It's knowing when to say yes and when to bravely say no. Some may think that setting boundaries is selfish, but in truth, knowing when to say no is a form of deep wisdom. Because when you honor your own limits, you also teach others not to cross them. And when you stop exhausting yourself trying to please everyone, you finally create space to live authentically, where your compassion no longer turns into quiet suffering. You have the right not to agree with everyone. You have the right not to meet every demand. You have the right not to be perfect, and still you are worthy of love. Some people may not like your truth, but that's not your fault. You don't need to shapeshift into someone else just to be accepted. You only need to return to yourself kind, yes, but not at the cost of your own truth. The more you try to please everyone, the more you lose yourself. And perhaps the saddest thing isn't that others stop loving you, but that you stop loving yourself. True compassion starts from within. When you listen to your own heart, you'll be able to truly listen to others. When you respect yourself, others will learn to respect you too. And when you live truthfully, you'll attract relationships that are also honest and real. So, if today you find yourself tired from constantly trying to keep everyone happy, pause and ask yourself, is this truly nourishing my heart? Or is it quietly draining me? Letting go of the need to please everyone doesn't mean letting go of kindness. It means beginning to practice kindness in the right way, with others, and most importantly, with yourself. 5. Letting go of comparing yourself to others. There's a quiet habit that many people carry, one that drains their energy and chips away at their confidence day by day. It's the habit of comparing themselves to others. Have you ever looked at someone else's life and asked yourself, why can't I be like them? Why are they more talented, more beautiful, more successful, more fulfilled? Each time you look at what someone else has, you start to feel like you don't have enough. Not enough achievement, not enough worth, not enough reason to be proud of who you are. And so, you shrink. You stop showing up. You stop shining. You stop living fully as yourself. But do you know something? The lotus never envies the plum blossom. The lotus blooms in its own time, in its own season. And the plum blossoms bloom beautifully in the heart of winter. They don't compete. They don't feel lesser. Each flower carries its own unique beauty. And what makes it beautiful is that it's irreplaceably its own. In Buddhism, we say that each person is a unique expression of karma and conditions. No two lives are the same. No one shares the exact same journey background or timing as anyone else. So comparing yourself to others is like comparing spring to autumn. There's no right answer. They're simply different, and both are necessary. The person you're looking at may have started their path years before you. They may carry blessings from many past lives. They may be walking a smoother road because they've already cleared certain karma. But you may be on a deeper chapter of your story. You may be facing greater challenges because you're here to learn something profound. And within those trials lies the potential for real transformation. Your task in this life is not to become someone else. It is to return to yourself, to realize you don't have to be like anyone else to be valuable. You only need to live fully as you with mindfulness, compassion, and perseverance. Comparing yourself to others won't help you move forward. It only causes you to lose sight of the present moment, to forget to appreciate what you already have. Worse still, it makes you miss the opportunities waiting just for you, because your gaze is turned towards someone else's path. So remember this, you are walking your own path. It doesn't need to be faster than anyone else's. It doesn't need to be flashier. It doesn't need more flowers. It just needs to be more truthful day by day. Instead of asking, why am I not like them? Try asking, do I understand myself better than I did yesterday? Am I living in alignment with what I truly value? Am I moving forward, even slowly, with steadiness and awareness? When you let go of comparison, you'll start to feel lighter. You'll feel joy in your own steps. You'll learn to bless the success of others instead of resenting it. And you'll begin to see the truth. Every person has their own blooming season, and yours will come too, when the light, the wind, and the time are just right. 6. Letting go of toxic relationships. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay forever. Some people show up for a short chapter, then quietly exit. And some relationships, even the ones that last for years, even the ones that once felt deep and meaningful, slowly pull you away from who you truly are, away from your peace, away from your path of awakening. Have you ever experienced a relationship like that? Someone who every time you're around them, you feel like you have to brace yourself. You have to act okay even when you're not. You have to hold your tongue dim, your light shrink yourself to keep the peace. You say things you don't mean. You live in ways that don't feel true to who you are. What may have started out as something beautiful slowly becomes a silent burden, draining your energy, wounding your spirit, and making you forget who you are. In Buddhism, we don't call that a mistake. We call it a lesson. A person who came to reflect something back to you, to teach you about patience, about boundaries, about compassion, and also about letting go. And once the lesson has been learned, letting go is not cruelty, it's clarity. Many people are afraid to walk away from toxic relationships because they think it's cold, or unkind, or unloving. But the truth is, letting go of someone who's costing you your peace isn't unkind. It's awareness. Because compassion doesn't mean endless tolerance. It doesn't mean sacrificing yourself to preserve a relationship. True compassion in Buddhism also includes protecting your own energy. Think of yourself as a gardener. You can't water the flowers if your own well has run dry. You can't heal anyone else if you're still bleeding inside. Some relationships, if kept too long, will make you smaller. Smaller in voice, smaller in joy, smaller in your freedom to be who you really are. And you keep telling yourself, if I just try a little harder, maybe they'll change. If I just hold on a little longer, maybe things will get better. But the years go by, and you change. They don't. You wear yourself thin. You lose your spark. You lose the light in your eyes just to hold on to something that stopped being healthy long ago. The Buddha taught letting go of what harms your heart is also an act of love. Love for yourself. Love for your spiritual path. Love for the peace you deserve. You don't need to hate someone to walk away from them. You only need to be clear. Your peace matters. And no one, no matter who they are or how beautiful the past once was, has the right to take that from you. If you're in a relationship today that's hurting you, gently ask yourself, am I staying out of love or out of fear? Is my patience nurturing awakening or slowly destroying me? You have the right to choose peace. You have the right to say goodbye. You have the right to move forward without carrying the weight of what no longer serves you. Because in the end, not everyone is meant to walk with you until the finish line. Some people are only here to teach you how to love yourself more deeply, and then quietly let you go. 7. Letting go of overthinking and endless worry. Our mind, it can be a wise companion or an exhausting master. When used mindfully, the mind helps us see clearly, make wise choices, and understand life deeply. But when left unchecked, it becomes a non-stop machine, constantly churning out thoughts day and night without pause. That's when we fall into the spiral of overthinking, non-stop worrying, and slowly lose the natural stillness within. Have you ever experienced this, lying awake in the middle of the night, eyes wide open, your mind spinning with what-ifs, should-haves, and what now? Your body is in bed, but your mind is wandering into the past, into the future, into imagined fears that haven't even happened. That's the trap of overthinking. It doesn't solve the problem. It only multiplies confusion. It doesn't protect you from real danger. It only makes you live in imaginary fear. And the saddest part, you begin to miss the peace that's already here in this very moment. The Buddha didn't teach us to suppress thoughts. He didn't tell us to force the mind into silence. He offered something more profound: mindfulness. Mindfulness is the art of observing your thoughts without becoming your thoughts. You don't have to silence the mind. You just have to create space between you and what you're thinking. Like sitting beside a river, watching clouds float by across the sky of your mind. You don't chase them. You don't become them. You just breathe. You just witness. You just remember. You are not your worries. You are the awareness watching those worries. You don't have to fight your thoughts. You just have to return to your breath. One deep breath. One still moment is enough to pull you out of the current of constant thought, because thoughts are natural, but chasing them is a choice. You can choose to pause, choose not to react, choose not to believe everything the mind throws at you, and instead choose to rest in the now. When you do that, you're no longer a victim of your mind. You become the observer, and that sacred observing is the gateway to your inner freedom. So if today your mind feels crowded with restless thoughts, if you find yourself overanalyzing, overreacting, overstressing, just take one conscious breath and remind yourself, you don't have to figure everything out. You just have to return to this moment where there is no past to regret, no future to fear. Only this breath, only this stillness, only you finally coming home. 8. Let go of the need to always be right. There's a quiet truth in life that many people overlook. We don't get exhausted from arguments themselves. We get exhausted from our need to win them. Have you ever found yourself in a disagreement, and the more you talked, the more tension built up? It stopped being a conversation and turned into a battle of, I'm right, you're wrong. And strangely, even if you won, peace never followed. All that was left was distance, hurt feelings, or a cold silence. That's the ego whispering. Don't back down. Don't lose. They need to know you're right. But in chasing that victory, we often lose something far more precious, our inner peace. The Buddha taught, the winner breeds resentment. The loser lives in pain. But the one who lets go of winning and losing lives in peace. It's a simple line, yet if you truly live it, it brings a profound kind of freedom. Because the need to be right is the ego's way of asking to be seen, to be validated, to feel important. But in trying to be right all the time, we lose sight of what really matters. We stop listening. We stop connecting. We lose compassion, and sometimes we lose people we love. Some have gone years without speaking to their parents over a simple disagreement about who was right at the dinner table. And even after proving their point, they felt no relief, only emptiness and regret. It makes you wonder. Some victories cost too much. And sometimes choosing to let go is the real growth. Letting go of the need to be right doesn't mean you lack conviction. It doesn't mean you blindly agree. It means you value peace more than pride. You choose understanding over dominance. You protect the softness in your heart instead of hardening it to win. Wisdom isn't proven by winning every argument. It's shown in knowing when to stay quiet to protect harmony and when to walk away to avoid hurting someone, even yourself. Yes, you might be right, but you don't need to force someone to admit it. You can hold the truth gently within you and let your kindness speak louder than your words. There's a saying, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Not every time do those two things come together. So if today you find yourself caught in a battle to prove a point, pause. Ask yourself, is my heart at peace? Is what I'm about to say for healing or for victory? Because in the end, the goal of this spiritual path isn't to become the most right. It's to become the most at peace. 9. Letting go of lingering guilt. There's a quiet emotion that lingers longer than most. It's not explosive like anger. It's not chaotic like anxiety, but it settles deep into the heart. It's guilt. Guilt for hurting someone. Guilt for making the wrong decision. Guilt over things you can't change, and the ones you wish you had. Little by little, it seeps into your being, making you harsh toward yourself, making you believe you don't deserve happiness, making you feel unworthy of peace. Some people carry this wound for years, not because others won't forgive them, but because they haven't yet forgiven themselves. They replay the past. Why did I do that? Why didn't I act differently? If only I could go back. But the truth is, time doesn't rewind. And guilt isn't meant to keep you trapped in darkness. It's meant to lead you into the light of transformation. Buddhism doesn't deny our mistakes. In fact, the Buddha said, "To see your faults is the beginning of wisdom." But more important than seeing is the willingness to change. Guilt only has meaning when it becomes the doorway to awakening. When you recognize your mistake, feel true remorse, and commit to living differently, your guilt stops being a burden. It becomes a bridge to mindfulness, to right action, to compassion. Some believe living in guilt is how we pay for our past. But punishing yourself isn't redemption. Self-blame doesn't heal you, and it certainly doesn't erase karma. Only when you face your mistake with sincerity, without denial, without excuses, without cruelty, does true healing begin. Remember, none of us were born perfect. We're all here learning how to be human. We stumble, we hurt, we fail. But the real question is, will you rise? Will you learn? And will you live more kindly from this day forward? Guilt is a pause, not a prison. You don't have to build a home in your old wounds. Light the lamp of awareness. Take the next step. With steadier feet, with a softer heart, the Buddha taught. Just as the earth does not resent the garbage dumped upon it, the awakened heart does not cling to guilt. Let go to be free. See your fault to be transformed. If your heart still carries a heaviness from something unspoken, take a breath. Place your hand on your chest and gently remind yourself, I am not perfect, but I'm learning. I have fallen, but I am rising. I am not my past because I am choosing to live with love in the present. 10. Letting go of unrealistic expectations. There's a subtle cause of suffering that many people overlook. It's not that someone did something wrong. It's not that life turned out unfair. It's that we expected something else. We expect others to understand us. We expect life to unfold exactly as planned. We expect our children to succeed the way we imagined. We expect the people we love to never let us down. And when life doesn't meet those expectations, we hurt, we blame, we feel disappointed and defeated. But have you ever noticed? Expectation isn't the same as trust. It's actually a quiet form of attachment. It builds a mental blueprint. Life should be this way. They should act that way. This moment should look like what I had in mind. And when reality doesn't fit, we feel betrayed. But the Buddha taught suffering arises when we want reality to be something other than what it is. An expectation is exactly that. When we expect, we stop seeing life clearly. We see it through the lens of, it must be this way. We lose the ability to accept things as they are. It's like looking at a flower and thinking, it should be bigger, more fragrant, the color I prefer. And just like that, you miss its beauty. The flower didn't disappoint you. Your expectations did. In life, too many of our struggles come not from what's wrong, but from what's different than what we imagined. The higher the expectation, the deeper the disappointment. The more rigid the hope, the more fragile the heart. Following the Buddhist path doesn't mean we give up on dreams or goals. It means we release rigid attachment to how things must be. We move with life, not against it. Letting go of expectation isn't the same as giving up. It's not apathy, it's maturity. It means we can hope without clinging, plan without forcing. Receive outcomes, success or failure, with a calm heart. Because life is impermanent. And nothing arises from our will alone. When we truly understand that, we feel lighter. So, if something is weighing on your heart today, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this pain coming from life or from my expectations of it? Take a deep breath and remind yourself, I don't need the world to be perfect. I just need a heart spacious enough to meet life as it is with peace. The more you accept what is, the more suffering softens. Not because life gets easier, but because you become softer, less forceful, less clenched. And when you release what no longer serves your peace, you don't lose anything. You return gently to yourself, no longer dragged by the past, no longer tied to should have or if only. You begin to live more fully, breath by breath, moment by moment. The Buddha never promised a life without hardship, but he showed us the path to meet it with a lighter heart. Every act of letting go is a step back into presence, and every awakened heart is a quiet light in this changing world. If today's reflection touched something in you, we warmly invite you to subscribe to Buddhism Seeds. Click, like, share this with someone you care about, and leave a comment below. What expectation are you learning to release on your journey? We read and cherish every response. See you in the next video, where we keep walking this path together with presence and peace.